Hey traders, welcome to another edition of the Crypto Lab with Alex. We are going to do a little bit of a different review today. It is going to be a daily update without the macro scene. So I'm just going to do a higher time frame analysis using our preferred methodology and a couple of other things on a Bitcoin and Ether. Of course, you can leave your comments and chart requests in the comment box. So let's start. We're going to start with Bitcoin today. And we're going to do analysis on the weekly and daily timeframes and what are some of the things that we are looking using our preferred method of analysis. And let me just put up the chart and then glare the screen. So we're going to start with the Bitcoin. And let us see and let's analyze some of the curricular things we are usually going through, and let's go switch them back from weekly and daily time frames. So let's start with weekly and what we are seeing currently. So from the 2019 lows, we identified this as a corrective pullback back then, and we initiated a probable further recovery in the direction of the trend, which was before. This is the Binance feed, so we don't have the whole chart, but we are going to focus on what is going on currently. And of course, we have identified this as the first 5 waves on the upside. Usually, Elliott Wave sequence has a 5-wave move. And from that perspective, this was a COVID pullback down to this area, close to 4,000. And then we have seen a development of usually of a vertical uprise, which we usually identify as a wave 3. And we still consider this as a part of a pullback in a wave 4. So let me just go into a little bit of things that I see, and let me erase all of this and just show you how do we actually view this from the perspective if this move on the upside has actually completed. So if you put this as a wave 1, this as a wave 2, this is a wave T, some type of a flat correction in a wave 4, and this is a wave 5. There is a couple of things which we don't think kind of a fit. Firstly, if we have this as a completed 5-wave move, and if we see 5-wave move lower, which we still don't, this is actually a complete cycle. This means that after this stop, this will be as we see it, most likely a completed 5-wave move for now. So this will be the wave 1 to the downside. This will be a wave 2. This will be a move down in a wave 3. This we consider in both cases as a consolidation in a wave 4 and a wave 5. This means that after a pullback, we're going to see more downside price action. Okay, so usually when you see the trend changes, you're going to see a beginning impulsive sequence in a 5 waves, and then after a pullback, you expect that that sequence will continue minimum for a measured move, which means we're going to see after a pullback one more equal leg of this downside price action. So let's do this hypothetically because we don't have the final sequence, and in that case, we're going to mark this as an ABC pullback. Usually in this type of events, pullbacks are relatively simple. And if you do a measured move, which means we're going to measure a wave A down and project it down for the potential wave C from, let's say, roughly 50% retracement, we're going to get somewhere below, let's say, around 6,000. Okay, so this is the bearish case scenario if you consider this enough as a wave 4. So how do we get to this analysis, and why we still hold the view that this is not the case, that we are still most likely are going to continue on the upside? I'm going to show you a couple of stuff that we usually look. So there is a guideline of alternation between the wave 2 and wave 4. That's the first thing. Second thing, we have here a wave count invalidation. So in Elliott Wave sequence, a wave 4 cannot enter the territory of the wave 1 if you don't have, of course, leading or ending diagonal, which actually requires that wave 4 enters the territory of the wave 1. So here, clearly, the wave count invalidation level, let me just mark it that way, comes around 13,970. So it's between, sometimes this changes because of the, so let's say around 14,000 or a little bit below, it will be a wave count invalidation. So only in that case, if we break this rule, which is one of the basic rules in the Elliott Wave methodology, we will start considering that this actually was a longer term top and that we are going to see most likely either a complex or just simple ABC pullback to the downside. Okay, so just in this case, we will actually change our opinion on the current trend and actually reverse and look this as a corrective move further to the downside. So there is a couple of problems if you consider that from the point of the guidelines. So what is the guidelines? Guidelines are usually have a couple of things in them. The one is actually we usually study two corrections. First one is this correction and the second one is this one. So this is the two largest correction in this trend, which was formed back in 2019. So guideline of alternation actually tells you that when you have a wave 2 complex or simple, you will see a different event in the wave 4. Okay, so I do label this as a simple correction, which means simple corrections has some features that you want to see. They are usually sharp. They usually come down to, let's say, 78% retracement, which you have here. There has been a little bit move below it, but that is something which we can see on a volatile market. But after we reach this low, we immediately start to move on the upside. Second thing, if we consider this as a simple move to the downside, we should expect something more of a sideways nature or more of a complex nature in a wave 4. Okay, so this doesn't actually satisfy the usual thing which we will actually look for the wave 4. First, it is very small compared to the wave 2, as you can see in a price action, and also it is very small in a time relation. So if we measure the time relation between the wave 2 and wave 4, we are going to notice, and I'm going to do that just now. So we are going to notice that the time spent in the wave 4 was even short of 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of a time spent in the wave 2. So this is something we usually use to measure using the time relation between time of a wave 2 and wave 4. So it is very, very rare, and I don't remember in my 15 years of, let's say, Elliott Wave study, I have never actually saw this relation between the wave 2 and wave 4 in such a short notice, so in such a short time ratio. And it has some kind of a logic if you in itself, if you see a wave 2 to be very sharp, you will expect the balancing force of the wave 4 to take a longer time to unfold. That can morph into some type of a triangle. Also, it can morph into some type of a complex correction, or it can morph into some type of a flat, which we usually look here. Okay, so for this, especially if we get one more push to the downside, which I think is going to occur very close to these invalidation levels, we can actually label this as a potential 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and 5 waves down, which will give us a flat. There is a couple of types of flats which we usually find in the Elliott Wave sequence, and this is the expanding flat, which means that the B wave actually went above the previous highs. It can have any 3 waves in its wave structure. So as you can see, you have a small flat here before the wave the wave 3 has ended. And let me just do that quickly for you. So this will be a small wave A down in 3 waves, small wave B up in 3 waves, and 5 waves down, which will actually consist of wave A of this ongoing flat correction. We also can subdivide this correction on the upside as a wave B, and of course when you have a flat and when you have a 335, this will be the 5th and final wave of this 4th wave correction. There is another thing which we usually look. We look the projection or a couple of ratios which you can actually draw from a different distances for the target for the wave 3. Usually wave 3s on the upside, if you look, are going to satisfy one of these fib ratios, and usually it's 1618, which is very close, or a 200. Okay, so usually when you have a projection in the wave 3 on the upside, you want to look for these two ratios for a potential target, and we came, as we can say, roughly to 1618, and also you can look for a 200, but the whole sequence most likely should reach 2618 or close to it. Okay, so that's another thing which gives us still a relatively confident view. I can say confident, nothing is confident on the markets, but this also as a secondary parameter tells us that this was not the end of the whole sequence. Most likely we're going to have one more completion of this wave 5, and the measurements of the wave 5 we usually derive for a couple of ratios which we have built in, which comes around 0.618 projection of that move. We can also throw in 5 versus 1, which comes around 72-75K. We can pin this ratio. We can find some clustering of this fib ratio, which is approximation of two different ratios, which comes between 72 and 100K on the upside. So we are going to look some of the potentials for the price to stop here and then reverse and actually finish this cycle. So only in the case if this price action here completes a further move below, we will consider this sequence finished and we will look for a further downside, and only in that case. So looking all of these small things, but they are very big in their nature, you will see that we still have to stay with the current uptrend, okay? Because there is a couple of things when this trend develops that are still matching and actually tells us that potentially we are still in a wave 5 further or a last sequence on the upside. Secondary thing also, usually we look for the development between the wave 2 and a time spent in a wave 2. For the wave 4, the last ratio is 2618. We are still relatively far from that ratio. This ratio comes around January, February 2023. So as you can see, we skipped all of the other ratios. First one is equality. 1618 is the second, 200 is the third, and 2618 is the fourth one. So we are still in a measurements that we look for the wave 4 to develop compared the time spent in the wave 2. So if we go on a smaller time frames and look what is going on now, we will see that the Bitcoin is in a consolidation. So let's dissect what is going on a small time frames. Let's remove these ratios just to see a bigger picture, and we can all see that this is still doesn't qualify for the impulsive move further on the upside. So I think it's a more appropriate when we look the current price action to actually look this as some type of a wave 4 correction still. Wave 3 was relatively sharp. As you can see, if we subdivide this on a smaller time frame, we will see that the wave 1, 2, and 3 3 was not the shortest wave. So in the Elliott Wave sequence, another rule is that the wave 3 cannot be the shortest wave. And here definitely it's not, because the wave 1 was shorter than a wave 3 and the wave 5 was the longest one. Also, if we subdivide this sequence, we have a couple of things also which telling us that this sequence was also not breaking any of this Elliott Wave rule, because the wave 1 and wave 3 was equal if you lose the measurements, and actually the wave 3 was even 1618, even more than equal, and then actual wave 5 was a little bit of a bigger nature. Wave 2 was a complex correction. Actually, it was an ABC, but intermediate correction was in a triangle. That is very well seen here, as you can look from the actual consolidation. And then the wave 2 actually posted highs here, and then we have a wave 3 development. So if we also compare on a smaller time frame and actually use the same analysis in a time manner, so we can also see that we are very well still in a potential wave 4 corrective pullback. So we still have a time to 2618. We are close to 200. So I think here we might face some type of a triangulation. Most likely it can morph into a flat, which can have a little bit more upside price action. But I think this is some type of a triangle consolidation, which might complete relatively soon. Triangles are relatively tricky patterns and usually are very difficult for trading. What we recommend to our members when we see some type of a potential triangulation, we usually look for a pause and a continuation to the downside. So this is the most likely what is going on a Bitcoin. There is a couple of other forms. I will stay with triangle currently until I see this pattern or this price action actually respect some boundaries which are particularly important for triangles. For now, we respect all of these boundaries. And then after a triangle, which is a very, very important information, because it is telling you that you are going to have only one more move on the downside, and this current downtrend will actually complete. So it is very important, will this wave 5 actually make this wave counter validation? Will it break it, or will it stay above? In any case, in both cases, you will see a pullback further on the upside or a development of the fifth wave full impulsive feature to complete all of the cycle. So we think that this move to the downside is very close to complete. We think it's going to spend a little bit more time in this consolidation. We're going to see potentially one more push to the downside in this wave 4 above this consolidation level for our bullish case. And then what we need to see is some type of impulsive price action on the upside, which will need to have a steep rise on the upside, challenging these previous swing highs. And on a pullback, the risk reward will be very favorable either for the wave C or a full 5-wave sequence toward these two Fib ratios that we look. So if you have any questions of, on a Bitcoin analysis, please just put them in the chat box. Let's look the Ethereum, and that will be the final chart for today. I will look a couple of charts from your requests as well. So Ethereum, the same thing can apply for Ethereum. So we have still the same sequence where the wave 4 is still in some type of a very nice time measurement. So from 2019, we have some type of a leading diagonal in 1, down in 2, up in 3, 4, and 5. We have a sharp pullback in a wave 2. Then we have 5 waves up in a wave 3, reaching 2618, which is also one of the ratios we look for a potential target for the wave 3. And then we still look for the potential wave 5. So the situation in Ether is a little bit different. We still can look for a potential triangle here and a move down in a fifth wave, which will turn this into a flat rather than in a complex correction. And this scenario actually shows a full 5-wave swing. So what is very important for the price action on Ether is that a price action on the upside actually surpasses this wave 1 and actually tells us that we are not in a full 5-wave swings to the downside, that we are just, actually this was just a 3-wave move, not a 5-wave move. This is still not the case because this wave 4 didn't actually invalidate the impulsive wave count. So this still can go to the downside in an impulsive fashion. Ethereum is not out of the woods, but the price action is behaving for now a little bit better than in Bitcoin. So we are kind of swinging back and forth with our members for a potential two of these scenarios. We are holding this weekly 200 moving average. On a smaller time frame, we can qualify this as a 5-wave move and a 3-wave pullback. So we are looking what is going to happen here. I think it's too early to make any viable conclusions. Did we start the wave 5 on the upside? Some of the measurements we also have for the wave 5 come into the region around above these highs and a little bit higher. So this is still to be proven by impulsive move on the upside, which we still don't see. Of course, it is still very far. It needs to go above this or around these invalidation levels for us to confirm a further uptrend. But we are switching back and forth because the Bitcoin price action is telling for a potential move lower, for a potential one more move, or some type of a complex consolidation here around this 200 moving average, and then the resolution on the upside. So guys, if you have any questions for Ether, I hope you're gonna put it in the chat box. So that's all for today. I'm gonna go for a couple of your charts, and if you seek any guidance towards the crypto space, you can join us at tradinganalysis.com. We have an extensive coverage for members on many other cryptos. We cover almost, I think it's 50 of them. We also do macro elements, which kind of create environment for cryptos to go further on the upside. So let me just look what is your requests. There is a Chiliz. Okay, so let's look Chiliz and what is going on there. I think we have seen the Chiliz charts 2 crypto labs ago. And I think Chiliz was relatively bullish, developing a 5-wave move on the upside. So let me just look Chiliz dollar. Yeah, so Chiliz is basically, after this pullback to the downside, has a relatively nice 5-wave developments on the upside, and it's still in a corrective move, which I think it's still not finished. So clearly you can see the same sequence. So 3 waves down on a higher time frames. You can mark them as a complex, as an ABC, X, A, B, C. And from there we see very clearly a 5-wave move development. So that is something using the Elliott Wave methodology we like to see. And usually we expect some type of an ABC pullback and further continuation on the upside. So I think Chiliz actually completed the 5-wave sequence, and I will expect some type of an ABC pullback before Chiliz continue further on the upside. Hi Oleg, hi Elena, Diego, can I send you my Elliott Wave analysis? Yeah, you can DM me on Twitter, Diego. You will find my Twitter handle. It is TEA Crypto Lab, so you can DM me. Many people DM me with their charts, and I go back and forth. So it's TAFX Crypto Lab. It's my Twitter handle. So usually I have a lot of messages with charts, so you can do that, and I can go back and forth on your charts there. So yeah, we did Chiliz. Let me do a couple of more, and Matic. Okay, let's do Matic. Let's see what's going on Matic. Matic is, as I said before, it's holding very good. I still think we are in the uptrend. We can still not say that this correction is done because of the different developments. We still don't have a confirmation actually that this pullback is done, because from lows we are seeing only a 3-wave move. We don't see a 5-wave move to the downside. We also don't see from this lows 5-wave move on the upside. So for Matic, I will always, when I don't see a bullish development, which is still not over, we might see it on the upside, I will usually turn this into an ABCX, ABC, looking for a little lower levels, turning this into a complex correction. So it's still undecided in my view. We don't have a confirmation that the pullback is actually finished because of the nature of this corrective pullback here for now. If we develop 5-way move, it will change. But there is a couple of options open. I will just say that Matic is holding its ground very nice for now, and I have it on my list for a potential buy either after a 5-way move and a pullback or a little bit lower. So I think Matic is having a relatively nice wave structure for potential continuation on the upside. Yeah, Richard, thank you for being with me. Okay, so Matic was one of the... Let's do XBAR and let's complete today Crypto Lab. I didn't look chart of XBAR for a long time. I was looking for a triangle. Obviously, triangle didn't work. So we have to remodel this chart. I don't know if this is all of the price patterns that we have. Let me try to see it here on a trading view. Maybe we have a bigger data set for XBAR. Yeah, wave 4 usually didn't work, as you can see on this chart. Usually you will see a support level when the previous wave 4, obviously this analysis was wrong, as you can see, so we have to remodel it, considering this to be a complex correction, wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5, and this is some type of a complex corrective pullback, still has a chance to that this is a lows, okay, because you have a push on the upside in a wave A or a 5-way move, and then you have a complex move relatively, maybe a touch a little bit lower. So this is still an ABC pullback down. So if I would relabel it from the previous wave count, which was not successful, so this will be a wave 1, this will be a complex wave 2, this will be a wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5, and this will be some type of an ABC x ABC pullback to the downside. So what you need to look for here, it's very simple. First, we cannot go below this low, so this analysis is valid. Secondly, you always can do a channeling technique for this pullback to the downside. So as long as we are in the levels of these two lines, potential is that we actually go a little bit lower. So what you want to see here is a move above this channel line upside in an impulsive manner. So usually when you go step-by-step analysis, what you want to do, if you see that, you want to put a bigger channel, and then expansion further on the upside will actually tell you that the larger uptrend is starting. So that's why I advise always that you seek for a higher time frame confirmation, or at least if you want to catch this move on the upside, you go on a smaller time frame and look for a break of this lesser important channel than this bigger one, because this is a daily chart. It's going to take a longer time. Maybe you cannot wait. So you go on a smaller time frame and look for a break of this channel in 5 waves, and then your target can be the next bigger channel on this chart. And if you break it, you're going to have a confirmation and the reversal signature actually that you have a fully developed 5-way move, and then after a corrective pullback, you can position yourself when you can measure your risk properly for a further continuation on the upside. This is the actual setup that I always look for. So I need these requirements to see on the charts so that I can become interested in a certain assets class to trade. So usually this is not enough for me. I want to see a break of this smaller channel so we can confirm at least a medium-term low for a move here. And then if we break equality and continue on the upside, I will have a full reversal signature, and then probability will grow that after a pullback, we're going to go much higher. So this is kind of a step-by-step thing that usually we do take because of the risk management. And I think this is the proper way how you can utilize Elliott Wave as a great risk measuring tool in your trading. So thank you guys for being with me. We're gonna, of course, do the Crypto Lab next week with a little bit of different combination than we did it so far. So this week we did Bitcoin and Ether. Maybe next week we're gonna do some other pairs. So I hope I'm gonna see you next week here. So click the like and subscribe button to help us, our content, get a bigger view. And if you look for some solid guidance through the crypto space, you can join us for a trial at tradinganalysis.com. So I wish you a nice rest of the day, and see you next week, guys. Bye-bye.